person in the relationship. And it's just, and anybody that's been with somebody who drinks or smokes or whatever, that's part of it. So for me, I had to give all that up: smoking, drinking, work, everything. So that was another part of it. To become a better person, to build a better rock. And I think it had to start with, I mean, one of the main parts in this last transformational part was I wanted to change, and I wanted desperately to change. And so that was what drove me to start making all these moves to do so. And then lastly, I joined a recovery program, which is designed for emotional sobriety, which sounds bizarre. And if you want to ask me what that is, I'd be glad to tell you.
What is that, Rob?
Okay. Emotional sobriety is essentially the same thing as
Come on, fill in, everybody.
emotional sobriety is really like it's similar to physical sobriety if you're into whatever, but it enables you to have healthier choices and to make healthier choices based on how you want to live your life. And so, you know, maybe you're meditating, maybe you're walking, maybe it's self-care, maybe it's getting enough sleep, maybe it's eating better. All of those are healthy ways to soothe yourself versus I'm gonna have a shot of tequila, or I'm gonna just stay up till 11 o'clock and work on this proposal because why? I don't know. But that kind of thing. Or if I make this deal, this next deal, it's if I just close this next deal, then I'll be okay. And that's how it was for me. I was like a junkie on I had to close a deal. I had to get to that next chapter. Don't be too punny there. Go ahead.
I get it. Oh, this is about the book of your life.
That's right.
Okay. So, you know, about the writing process. Now, out of everybody I know, I think about at least half the people have at one point talked about, oh, maybe I'll write a book one day, or I should write a book. And it's usually either the form of they had an interesting life and they want to document that down, or they want to write some kind of fiction or a children's book or something. But out of every 100 people who are like that, I think 99.99999 don't ever do anything. They don't sit down and start actually writing a book. You did. How did you motivate yourself to do that? And what was the process of laying down your life in writing? How long did it take you from the first idea that you had, your first outline, to the published book?
It took about 3.5 years. And, you know, not having a job. So that became my job. So if you have a job, it might take you a lot longer. But I'm fortunate in that way. And so I was able to kind of spend a lot of time. And the first part of that question, I didn't really set out to write a book. During these EMDR sessions, I uncovered some details of things that happened to me, or, you know, that I would say, you know, were very fuzzy, and they came in clearer because I went deeper. Your body remembers everything, and your mind is working with your body together. And in those instances, I was able to see people relive it. It's a painful process because you're essentially, like, this is how I would compare it if you've never done it. It's like you break your arm, okay? It hurts, right? And you know, you go to a doctor and they tell you, well, you set it this way, you put a cast on it, then we're gonna do rehab, blah, 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 blah. Well, in EMDR, well, let's re-break your arm again. Let's just go in and snap it, and then let's prod around in it, and let's poke at it a little bit. And that's essentially what I was doing with each of these major wounds. And you don't have to go to every wound. You can, and these are emotional wounds, which, so through that process, I started writing afterwards some of the things that happened. And then I brought it back to the therapist. Like, I don't know why, but I thought, hey, let me read you what I wrote. And so I did. And she was like, that's nice, thank you, and let's go to the next one, kind of thing. And then I did another one. And then I got to a point where, I don't know when I had the idea, but I thought, man, I really love memoirs. I've read a lot of memoirs, and that genre really connects with me. I like to hear the truth that people think about their life and themselves, and I've learned a lot through reading them. And I thought, I wonder if I could do this. It was really kind of, I think, audacious at the beginning, to be honest. I didn't think I was capable. And then I actually sent him a chapter. I sent you a chapter that I had written, which was a chapter was a story, like I just read. The one that I sent him actually became the first chapter of the book, but it changed. It actually was broken. There's a part of it went into a later chapter in the book, but the point is, I sent it to him and another guy I know who's written books and who's also wicked smart, very creative, and both of them said kind of the same thing. He was a little more honest. He said, you're terribly disorganized, but you really are a great storyteller. And I encourage you to continue to tell your story. And the other guy said, it's not bad. And here's my advice if you decide to write a book. Vomit on the paper. And I was like, huh? He's like, just put it all down. Put it all on paper. So I took the two of them, that was enough encouragement, and I wrote almost 200,000 words, which is far too much for a book. They tell you that you should have about 85,000 words. Well, my book is a little bit longer than that. I think it's about 120,000, 115,000. But that's where it ended up. Could I have cut it down? I've had people say, well, you could talk less about your family or less about your life or less about this or less, I don't know. That's where it ended up. So that was the process, which it changed and morphed many times. Because I remember thinking, I sent him a copy of it and he was like, what is this? And I didn't write it chronologically. And he's like, I'm not gonna read this. And I said, why? He said, it's just a disorganized mess. And I was like, yeah, but...
Well, you sent me 45,000 words about all the women in his life. Each one was a chapter by name.
Wait, where's that?
I still have that.
That's
No,
volume 2.
there are some women, but there was a lot of editing and a lot of there was a lot of changes. So to your point, this book went through, I didn't count how many edits, but probably at least 20 times that, from cover to cover it rewrote. And so that's part of it. And for me also, towards the end, I didn't write it with any receiver in mind. I just wrote it with like, okay, I'm gonna write the best book I possibly can, and that's it. And if people like it, they like it. If they don't, what am I getting? This is the emoji I give them. So there's nothing I can really do about that. And that's another thing that I've kind of learned is to surrender the things I can't control, which has helped me a great amount. And then, also towards the end of this book, I talk more about things that are kind of about that personal change shift in me, where other things I've learned is I used to blame my parents a lot, and my family, and my surroundings, and my bosses, and partners, whatever. I blamed everyone else instead of focusing on what I could take my own responsibility for. So I now look at life differently, and I just take responsibility for my own shit, and everything else is in somebody else's lane, and I don't blame anybody. And I've had a lot of bad things happen to me. I write about that. Wait, I'm gonna read something because somebody told me that this needed to be before the chapters, which it is not, but somebody passed this on to me later.
Okay, and this time, Rob, please stand up when you read.
Author's note.
Thank you.
To protect the privacy of certain, no, I'm just going to read you, warning. Please be advised that this book contains mature themes, including detailed descriptions of trauma and sexual abuse. This content may be triggering for some readers. Please proceed with caution. So I say this because I had a woman contact me who read the book, who told me that I should have posted that on the chapter before she read it, because she was just reading along and then suddenly something bad happened to me in the book and it really triggered her. So I said, well, there is a trigger warning in the book, so I'm making that warning known again.
And I'm going to point out that Rob is not going to read that emotional triggering chapter because we want you to buy the book and you'll find it. And I guarantee you will find it interesting and compelling. What I like about the book, if I can throw a bit of a review in there, is that Rob is a master storyteller. Yes, sometimes his stories will take 4 times as long as the actual story happened to tell you about him. He's always been like that. But there are some marvelous stories in the book, and getting everything organized, it's almost like a smorgasbord, because it's not a self-help book, it's not a pure recounting of a career in music, it's not an autobiographical life story, it's everything all put together. So if you're looking for wild rock and roll tales, you'll find it. If you're looking for a biography, you'll find it. If you're looking for redemption, you'll find it. If you're looking for trauma, you'll find it. And that's kind of the neat thing about the book. There's all this stuff in there. And in closing, because we got to wind things down before we have a Q&A with our lovely audience, you mentioned earlier when you were talking about your book that, you know, memoirs, you like memoirs a lot because it is the author's truth, the author's version of truth. Is your memoir the real truth? Is it your truth? Is it a little bit of everything?
Well, I learned something about truth in the process of doing this as well. It is my truth, and I was as raw and as deliberate as I could have possibly been in each thing that I wrote. In fact, you know, I'm very self-deprecating in certain places in the book, but the thing that I learned about truth is that our memories are only capable of probably about 85%. So even what I believe is truth at 100% is really only about at 85, because if I think of the same memory in 2 weeks from now, I might actually think of it slightly differently than the way I'm thinking about it today. And so I would finish a chapter and be like, wait, did they say this or was it that? And so at some point I realized that every single book in here is to the same degree. There's nobody that can actually, you know, do 100%. So I did as close to 85 as I could possibly get, but who knows? And then also, people will tell you too, is anybody here a twin?
Daughters.
Okay, well, your daughters, they've experienced a lot of the same things in their life, but the two of them are going to have absolutely different memories of the same thing. And siblings do, but even you wonder, well, why doesn't a twin person remember it the same way? So there's always the perspective that from the individual too. So all of this affects quote unquote truth.
Even inside in utero, they're different.
Yeah.
Like in utero, I had one child who was more still, and one child that was always like So, it's,
Does that answer the, does that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's who knows what the truth is. I mean, and I think back to my own childhood memories, and oh, that was a really cool thing. And did it really happen that way? Because I think there's two kinds of memories. There's, and maybe you can just address this as a final point. There's memories where we remember something, but then there's certain memories that are more vivid, and it's almost like we can close our eyes and play this memory in our heads. And neither one of them necessarily is 100% accurate.
I think people remember things differently too. For me, I'm a very visual person. So when I go into a building or I go into my mind and I think back to an event, I'm actually I'm visualizing the layout of the event, the hallways, the chairs, the tables, the lights, the ceiling, the floor, the colors.
And this is why the original book was 200,000 words.
And I think some other people remember conversations better or remember, other aspects better. So I think everybody's different in that way. But that's how I had trouble in school because I wanted to, I needed more creative ways to express myself, and that was not available in the school that I was going to. I went to a very small private school growing up. I'm the only one of my 4 siblings that went to a private school, and it was kind of weird because we didn't really have art. We didn't have, PE we did in our uniforms. We didn't even have a gym. We didn't change clothes. It was kind of odd. And so we didn't have like the intramurals and a lot of the activities that kids have now. And I think that impacted my memories of those things too in a lot of ways. We're out of memory. There we go.
Okay, well, let's do a Q&A with the audience. Who wants to be first to fire a question at Rob? Right here. And what's your name, ma'am?
Jennifer.
Jennifer, your question.
I read the book and I was really impressed by how vulnerable you made yourself in a lot of these circumstances with your family, your friends, your job. And I'm just wondering, as you take this out to the world and you sort of let it unfold, what have been the most surprising things about the ways people have reacted to your words?
That's a good question. Thank you. It's nice to not have his questions. Yesterday, or maybe a couple days ago, I got an email or a Facebook message or something, I don't know, some DM thing, and it's somebody I used to work with a long time when I was in my early 20s, and it's somebody I fired. Now, why did I fire this person? I cannot remember for the life of me why I fired her. However, I was an asshole because I bet she did not deserve to be fired. And I don't know why I did it, but I did. But for whatever reason, she bought my book and read it. And she went on to say that she loved the book, and that I said I actually apologized to her, and I said I'm terribly sorry that I did fire you. And she said, it's okay, it actually helped my career, blah, blah, blah. You're forgiven. I mean, it's years later. But the thing that really touched me was the part where she said she related to a lot of the things that I talked about in the book, and it's really given her a catalyst to want to make change in her life. And I couldn't ask for much more than that. So that's really a lot of the reason that I put the book out there. And if I'm vulnerable, then it's safer for you to be vulnerable too. And so that's how I kind of look at it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, in the back.
Jeff, how are you? Who's going to play you in the movie?
Well,
Gary
old
Coleman.
me or the young me?
Gary Coleman. Very good, that's good.
Peter Dinklage.
Paul Rudd,
Okay.
maybe.
Okay, I'll stop.
Who are you again?
Timothy Chalamet as the young me. I'll go with him.
There you go.
Okay, other questions right here.
You talk about programming.
Yeah.
You know, that we program and we program ourselves. And
Right.
then it brought me back to, you know, where I said I have 2 kids inside me and they were different. So today, after you've done all this work, when